Killing Crickets, thank you for joining us again. Episode 12. I'm John Caparulo.
And I'm Brian Shinanigan. Hi.
Good to see you. So we're here at Wise Guys in Las Vegas, here to do some comedy again. After we had a little foray last week to the new Wise Guys, but I also tonight I decided to wear a baseball jersey with a T-shirt underneath it. It's kind of my new thing that I'm going. I don't know if anybody likes it or not, or if I look like shit. But this is my new motif, because I've always liked the thing. Because when I was I don't know if you know, I'm sure you do. Mm-hmm. When I was for the longest time, for a good 5, 6, 7 years in comedy, I wore nothing but white Hanes T-shirts on stage. I just did that. But as I got fatter, that got less attractive. And so I started adding some colors into the mix, especially with TV and everything. They always bitch about white T-shirts. And recently. But the thing I liked about that was it made dressing for the show, like I didn't have to think about it. Like it was like a cartoon character. I just knew what I was going to wear, so that it didn't have.
That was your uniform for work.
Factor in.
Yeah.
So it's like now it's like I've found the baseball jersey look kind of like I don't have to think about this, so it's what I'm going with. I look more like a bowler than a baseball player, but I'm still good with it. So
it's still a sport. You can technically go pro in.
I don't know. Brian will read it. I'm not going to read it. But anyway. So anyway, we got some good comedy lined up for tonight, and we're going to do some sets. So stay with us. It's going to be fun.
Yep. We're right back with more Killing Cricket. Stay tuned.
All right, I know what you guys are thinking. You're thinking this comedy show's okay. But what I'd really like to hear is someone say their political opinions into a microphone. If you insist. Guys, I think it's time we went to war. It's been a few months since Afghanistan. I think it's time for a new war, guys. But I got an idea for this next war. It's going to save us a lot of money. With this next war, all the soldiers, both sides, have to be women. Because you can pay them 33% less. It's going to be a huge money saver. Speaking of the war in Afghanistan, do we have any Taliban in tonight? Anyone? We got some Talibans. Fantastic. I have sympathy for the Taliban because we spent like 20 years fighting them in the war, and then like last year we just kind of like got bored and left. Like, do you think they feel a little like they miss us? You know what I mean? Like a little betrayed. Like, because here's the thing, man. They can't fight us anymore. Now they all have to go get jobs. If the American military couldn't break their morale, PTO requests definitely will. All right, next political statement. The Queen of England, remember when she died? That pissed me right off when the Queen died. Pissed me right off. Because when the Queen died, I saw a bunch of American flags at half-mast for the Queen's death. Yeah. Now, I don't know if there's any, history majors in tonight. But I thought we didn't like her. If anything, those flags should be 1,776 feet higher up in the goddamn air, everybody. Yeah. And that's right, feet, not meters. This is America. All right, one more. All right, one more. Michael Jackson got so famous that he became white. The last time that happened was Jesus Christ. All right, good night.
Welcome back to Killing Crickets. Hi, Parker Tighe.
Hello, I'm here.
Thanks for joining us again.
Thanks for having me again.
It's very good to have you again, sir.
Yeah.
So tonight we were talking about a little bit. Good crowd tonight. What do you think?
Almost too good. I felt like I didn't earn it. I felt like everyone was killing, and I could have said anything up there, and they would have laughed at it.
You almost feel a little silly when you're just
it's like, all right, what are we doing here, guys?
Like they're mocking you, or they're just here for support. You know, they're like,
we can hear it right now.
Come on, cheer him on, come on, because he'll.
I felt like I won a Make-A-Wish. Like I felt like a Make-A-Wish kid.
Yeah, definitely.
Like this was like the showcase show at the end of like a comics writing class with other friends. Like, you
it is. It does feel like it because I remember I did one of those like way back when I first started back in Cleveland. Doing like it was like a showcase for, it was one of those comedy classes that was, it was taught by a guy who wasn't a comic. He was just a guy who used to book, I guess, evening at the Improv or something. And, it was a great crowd. And because they were just so supportive. Because, like, I think one of the other comics brought all of them. And it was like, just the whole thing. We were just like, they're, And, you come out of there like, all right, I can do this. And then reality hits.
And then you go to the next mic, and you're like,
"Woo, I'm gonna need him to bring his friends to every show
every week." No, dude, I wish the crowd was just like this especially the weeks we recorded the podcast.
Yeah. Oh. Is that a thing still? Like in comedy when you're coming to like bringer shows.
Oh yeah,
still...
dude. Especially in LA, like in LA, you have to bring 5 people to get stage time at a lot of those mics now.
It's a common thing. Like where you'll get like booked for a show. I did one I don't want to say the name of the club. Some club in Phoenix, Arizona. And they're like, yeah, we're gonna book you, yada yada yada. And like I'm like about to drive to Phoenix. And like, oh, by the way, to get on stage, you need to sell 20 tickets. I'm like, I don't know 20 people in
right.
Phoenix,
especially
Arizona.
when I moved to LA. I remember a few places asking me to do that, and it was like, okay, I moved here from Ohio with one guy, like my best friend. He and I moved. He's the only person I know who isn't a comedian. Like really, literally, I would have to go find other comedians to come to my show just to support it. It's like I personally hate performing in front of people I know.
Oh, it's the worst.
I think most comics do.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. It's so awkward. It's like, I love walking on stage feeling like, you don't know me, you've never heard any of this, whatever. Like, it's just...
See, I don't like to think of the audience as people. But when it's people that you know, it's like...
Not individual people. I don't like making eye contact and shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's a mass of strangers. Basically.
Exactly,
That's how it should be. But, so, okay, you've been doing stand-up how long? What is it?
The end of this year will be 4 years for me.
4 years, okay. Yeah. We were talking about this before too, like when we were setting up our little setup here. Because I hate asking, just how'd you, or like how long have you been, or like when did you start, or where did you start?
Yeah.
Like, was there like a particular moment for you, whether like as a young kid, whatever? Like, how long did you want to do comedy before you did comedy?
So I started comedy my senior year of high school.
Okay. Wow.
And
that's impressive. That's impressive.
And my very first time I thought about doing it was when I was like 6 years old.
Okay.
I saw Jeff Dunham at Caesar's Palace with my mom.
Okay. And then, because every time I watch you on stage, I think,
Jeff Dunham.
Yeah,
where are your puppets?
Yeah. I had a puppet when I was like a little kid. I had one.
I have a. Remember Willie Tyler and Lester?
Yeah.
I have a Lester that my mom got me out of the Sears catalog for Christmas one year, and I actually when I met Willie Tyler when I moved to LA and I was at the Comedy Store. We took a picture together and he signed it for me and everything. It was really
That's great.
Cool, man. But it was I had a Lester.
Yeah, so anyway. I started doing it senior year, and then I didn't really take it I couldn't really take it seriously until after the pandemic. That's why I started really, really doing it.
Yeah.
But I think I saw Parker in some of his first sets.
Yeah.
Like when we were at the coffee shops and stuff, and he'd bring his other friends.
Grouchy John's.
Yeah.
Rest in peace.
I think I've seen Parker almost since the beginning. I mean, almost since the first sets.
Because I asked him because, like, a lot of guys, like, or at least for me, it always seemed like once I realized like that I wasn't gonna be an athlete or a superhero. It's like what am I good at? And it's like I always wonder because I always figured that everybody who got into comedy had that sort of same background, but then when you get into it, it's like everybody comes at it from a lot of different
Yeah.
perspectives and angles. Like they end up in comedy for one reason or another, and it's just I got to waste time and accumulate some debt.
Yeah.
I got into comedy.
My last year of high school, I did movie extra work the
Yeah.
whole year.
Really?
Yeah, my grades were so good. They're like, yeah, we think you're gonna get these same grades, so I did movie extra work.
Where were
That's
you
what
in
I
an
did.
extra? Where were you an extra?
Oh
in?
god, dude, I was union. I fucking did a bunch of 90210.
Why are you doing this podcast? We're on strike.
I haven't paid up my dues.
Yeah,
But I mean, I did-
They took away my benefits
I did,
a while
I did
ago.
Power
They fuck off.
Rangers. I did a bunch of movies. I was in Jerry Maguire.
Oh, yeah? That's
I
cool.
did a fucking the thing you can see me the most in was a movie with Gary Busey and Billy D. Williams called Steel Sharks. It was like
Okay.
a fucking it was you can see it on YouTube right now.
That sounds like a TBS. Like,
Oh, it was
yeah.
it was a piece of shit.
Yeah.
But I got to shoot guns. I got to do stunts. Like
Yeah.
I died in it, you know, and like
sweet.
you can see my face perfectly on camera. Like,
Yeah.
like most of the other ones, you know, I'm just walking around in the back being white, and like, and I went out of my way to not be on camera because if you weren't on camera, you were the first ones cut.
Nice.
So it's like I got paid and I got the fuck out. You know?
Yeah, it's cool though. Let's go to just to go like, hey, watch me walk by or something. Have you done TV yet?
I've
Like,
done
or,
extra work, yeah.
So
Yeah.
what were you? What was your first thing that you were on?
When I was very young, I was in a failed pilot for the CW.
Okay.
It was.
Imagine that.
Yeah. So I can't even remember the name of the show, but it was. I grew up like riding horses and stuff. So I was in. They were trying to like make like a reboot of like an old like West kids show.
Yeah.
I remember the shot I was in. I was on a miniature pony white stallion, and the horse reared up, and I slid off. And I tipped my cowboy hat, and the CW did not care for it at all.
Ah, man. You had your Gene Autry moment.
Yeah.
As an extra.
Yeah.
My first ever TV appearance actually was I think it's WKBN. It was channel 27 in Youngstown, Ohio. Like they did the 11 o'clock news, and I went through a period in 9th and 10th grade where I used to what do you call it? Shoplift. And, but see, I had a specialty in my shoplifting because I used to steal cologne, mostly cologne testers where they have the one on the
Yeah,
counter.
yeah.
Just like to have,
right.
or
See, here's the thing. It's like
More about the rush.
Okay, the first time I stole, because I mean, me and my buddy used to go like. We'd steal like stuff from like the Quickie Mart, stuff like that. Like we used to steal two things. We used to steal the most of lighters. Because we like to like
Light stuff
like,
on fire?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
used to pump up the lighter with the things
Yeah,
that make
yeah,
a flame like
yeah,
this
yeah.
big.
Uh-huh.
And we would make lighters and cologne. And the reason why I stole cologne was because we were at the mall one night, and I remember my friend looked like a derelict, so he would like distract him,
Yeah.
and I looked like the nicest kid in the world, so I would be back there fucking putting
Filling
shit
it
in
up, yeah.
my jacket, and. So I stole a bottle. What hooked me on this was I stole a bottle of Eternity for Men, and I went and I took it with me to school the next day.
Yeah.
Like because it was like a trophy.
Yeah.
And I fucking by like 4th, 5th period, I reeked of Eternity for Men, and I had all these girls.
You're just reapplying
because it was like leaking out of the bottle in my pocket. I
Yeah.
think, and all these girls kept like, "Oh, who smells good?" And I'm like.
This guy.
and they're like, why do you smell? And I bring this bottle of Eternity out of my pocket, and they're like, why do you have that? And I'm like, well, here's a story about me being an outlaw, baby. And I get to make them laugh and all that. So like, it became like an addiction thing where I like have to just keep stealing cologne, and so
Commit to the bit.
it was Christmas shopping season. I was in 10th grade, and me and my sister go up to the mall, which is like 45 minutes from our house. We were from a small town, and I had my eyes on this. I had it on this bottle of Giorgio VIP. And, so I go and I find the whole reason I swiped it was because TV 27 was there was interviewing people at the counter about Christmas shopping and how things are going and everything, and I'm behind the camera over there. I swipe some Giorgio VIP, and so then I'm making my way out of the store later, and they had another camera shooting B-roll, and I walk by like fucking Bigfoot, and just me walking by with a fucking stolen bottle of cologne in my pocket. And I remember, having my mom and everybody watch that, and I'm on the news. Look, I'm on the news. And she's like, "What? Where was your sister?" I'm like, I I was running out of the store for
reasons.
unrelated reasons. Yeah, my mom didn't find out about me shoplifting until I got arrested at Sears a while later. So it is what it is. But yeah, so that was my first TV appearance. Anyway,
Cap the cologne thief, huh?
yeah, man, I was seriously that was my specialty. Anyway, like okay. So what else?
No, I mean honestly, I thought it was a great set. I mean, in the end,
I think, yeah, of course, you had a great set.
It was a great
I mean,
set.
it's one of those things that like you can't just always put it on the crowd being
Yeah.
too good, because I mean, still, any crowd will give you a certain amount of leeway,
Right.
You know, but it's like if you're not, you know, if you're not funny at all, it's eventually. I always like that you have. I mean, because I used to do this all the time. I had a few bits like that where it's like, you know. Okay, I have a little time left, but I don't have a lot of time. So you have that little time bit that you're able to do your Michael Jackson bit, which is
I like that. I hate about that joke? I think it's the best joke I've ever written. I wrote it a week into doing stand-up comedy.
Yeah,
I don't think I've ever topped it. That's my favorite joke I've ever written.
That was the best.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I wouldn't feel bad about that because it's like, look, I mean, I'm sure you're sick of it because we all get sick of things we tell over and over again.
Yeah,
but. You know, the thing about it is, you know, a lot of, really, the base of where most of your stand-up's going to come from for most of your career, it's going to be stuff that you had however many 18, 19 years to build up before you started.
Right.
So it's like, really, that's why you see most comics, like, a lot of comics will just have, like, one special or something like that, and then they just kind of drift. You know, and
Seinfeld.
No. But I'm saying, like, you know, it's so what I'm saying is, like, a lot of your first sort of set of things that you've come up with, you know, in your first like decade of comedy, basically, it's gonna be that's gonna be really where a lot of your stuff draws from anyway. So I wouldn't you know, I wouldn't hate it too much.
The new thing I was trying to test, because that, like, the political joke, I've rephrased that a couple different. I used to say was they're going to be irrational political statements. Now I've started like selling it as like I genuinely believe these things in my heart of hearts. I think that's funnier. The thing I'm trying to work on that though is the Taliban part. So I remember like when the war in Afghanistan first ended, I remember reading a news article about how the Taliban are like bored with like having to run the government. There's something that was really funny to me about this is the Taliban.
Letting to rebel against we're actually in charge now.
Yeah, so I'm just trying to. I've got the only real like the actual punchline after that is if the American military couldn't break the morale, PTO requests will, and I'm just trying to come up with more things to do that. But Tonight's crowd was great, but I've had audiences turn on me for that joke because like the joke starts off with, "Oh, you know, I kind of feel bad for the Taliban." Like that's the opening of the joke, you know.
Yeah.
So,
But what I think is what I really admire about you. What about you? I mean, because the thing is, you're only 4 years in too, which is amazing, really.
Hey.
I mean, because it's because you do have a really you have an inherent ability to not give a fuck, and I'm not saying that as a joke. That matters because I mean, all of us somewhere in it's like it's like there's part of us that's like. If the crowd's not with you, if they don't like you, it hurts, and there's a need for their acceptance to a degree, and you don't give that off. And I've always loved that about you. I've loved that about what you do and your writing style and your delivery. Man,
I think a big part of that's what I do for a living because like I'm a tour guide. I bomb for literally 12 hours a day.
Right.
Like,
so it just never gets any worse than that.
Before he went on stage today, he told me, he's like, I'm going to walk this fucking crowd. I'm like, yeah, bro, you do you. Like, you do you.
Man, keep that attitude, man, because, I mean, it really... Because they can't get to you, man. They can't get to you. You always have that approach.
I have barked for a living on Fremont Street. Like it's just,
bro. It's the way I say. You got that thick skin that so many of these people. That's why people quit comedy. Is a bad night or a bad set or whatever. Like it's driven more even decent comics. A couple bad nights, couple bad shows has driven people out of this business.
Yeah. First time you cry in front of Marcus Allen. I gotta redo that set at some point. But anyway, but good shit, man. It's great stuff. Great having you back, and we'll do it again, of course. Yeah. Because we'll
only
see
so many of us.
Yeah, so, right. We can only ignore you for so long, and then you gotta come back. So cool.
But check out Parker. ParkerTighe.com. And,
No, I don't own that.
Sorry, on Instagram at Parker Tighe.
Or just get on his bus. Get on his tour bus.
Just get on his
man.
tour bus.
Yeah, CODtours.com. Come to the Grand Canyon with me.
And other than that, we'll be right back with some more Killing Crickets.
Yep.
Hi, guys. You guys doing good today, yeah? Yeah. Oh, guys, I'm tired. Where are my tired people at? You guys tired? Oh, goddamn, man. My legs be hurting, all that stuff, you know? And, like, I talked about my friends, and my phone hears it and starts recommending shit to me. All your phones listen to this show right now. Your phone right now thinks you like asshole gaping, and like, you know that you have a brain condition, and oh man, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff's been said tonight that I don't want my phone in my algorithm, so that's what I'm saying. But my phone started suggesting massage products to me. You know, and it's that Theragun. You guys seen that thing? It makes your whole body vibrate. $550 on Amazon. I'm not making $550 on Amazon. All right, so I go cheap. So I just type into Amazon, personal body massager. And a lot of results come up. Like a lot. And I'm like, #1 seller. Look at this, personal body massaging wand. Why does that look so familiar to me? And I go in the other room, and I open the bedstand, that's my girl's #1 toy. I'm like, oh, personal body massager. I get it now. And I take it out, and I'm like I discovered it for the first time. I'm like, oh, it's got a nice long handle, nice angle, so you can get all the crevices. I'm like, okay, let's try this on it. Oh, all right, should do that. Oh, like it's good. So, dude, I proceeded. It had 21 settings. I went through all 21. I was there 2 hours, just all over my body. And my girl came in, and I had it on my face. And she's like, what are you doing? I'm like, baby, I washed it first. It's fine, you know? And she was like, that is mine. That is not for recreational purposes. I'm like, baby, this is only for recreational purposes. And she's like, well, you have to get your own. And I'm like, all right, so I got my own. I got the big black one, because that's just how I roll, you know? And I'm like, all right, but you can't use my big black one. This is mine, you know? And of course, I come in 2 days later, and she's got it on her face. I'm like, baby, I told you. And she's like, I like the big black one. I'm like, no! You like that small white one that you're with right now. Okay? That big black one's all me. That's the life I live, you know? But things are going good with my lady, you know what I'm saying? Maybe it's a pandemic, it's a good time. And she started dressing up for me, which is nice, you know what I'm saying? I get like a naughty nurse, Harley Quinn, Sailor Moon, you know, the vibes, you know? And the other day she came up to me and she's like, Brian, I know how much you love animation and cartoons. Would you like if I dressed up like a Pikachu for you? Yeah. And I'm like, dude, guys, I've watched Pokemon my whole life. You know, like it brings a little warmth in my heart that I don't think can be replicated. But man, I've never thought, God, I really want to fuck a Pikachu. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just didn't come up. You know, lots of other characters, but never a small electrical rodent. All right, that's all I'm saying. But guys, I'm at Jimmy Kimmel's every Tuesday and every Thursday. Please come out and see me with John Caparulo. Otherwise, have a great night. Thanks for
So yeah, we're here at Wise Guys, and it's did you ever? I think I saw most of your set tonight. How'd it go? How was you?
I mean, I worked that set like probably 6 times here, but like I rewrote it with like a bunch of new tags, and like I felt like they worked.
Okay.
I forgot a couple. It's just, man, like the problem with filming sometimes is all my notes are on my phone, and then when I just want to check my notes 2 seconds before I go on stage, I'm like, oh, it's up there in the air. I can't fucking get it.
You know, because like when I, you know, my pre-smartphone years of comedy, you know, I hardly ever had like, I guess early on maybe I took little pieces of notepaper with me or something like that to like remind myself of, okay, I wanted to do this bit or this bit or whatever. But it, you know, once I had like basically a file cabinet in my pocket, it did become a situation where it's like, you know, before my set tonight, I could at least start scrolling through. I didn't find shit, because I mean, a lot of it's like, really, I really thought that this was worth fucking typing into my phone, but it is nice to have that there to refer to. I mean, I'm surprised I don't see more comics, I guess, going on stage with it, because it always used to piss me off, especially when I was working the door at the Comedy Store. Like, people would go up on stage, especially like in the main room on Saturday or something, and they got their yellow notepad on the stool. Like, what are you fucking? This isn't a workshop, motherfucker. Go up there and fucking, I mean, do some comedy. Try to remember your shit.
I still see people do that to this day, though, like where they just always do stuff.
And it's like on a Tuesday, Wednesday open mic, okay, you know, but when it's, you know, there's too many times I saw too many people, who were, especially people who were way too seasoned a veteran to be doing that shit. And
well, it's funny because in Dion Cole's special, he made it a bit where he was holding his list the whole time, and he's like, "What do you guys think about this one?" And then if it landed, he would checkbox it or he'd cross it off. I mean, it was
I can't fault Dion Cole for anything. It's fucking funny.
It was a great bit, and I think that was doing that versus like we were like, all right, what else over here? Let's see. I know that's not funny for you guys.
Okay. Oh, what's the deal with cardboard?
Yeah. It's almost like you're breaking the fifth wall of comedy almost.
It really does.
You're just like, all right, everybody, don't look at what I'm doing right now. I'm gonna look at my notes. You know?
If I ever, that's why I always like. I think sometimes it makes it's limiting sometimes with me with comedy that I won't just, because I've watched a lot of comics go on stage and they'll go, they'll just go from topic to topic. They'll just be like, they'll talk about, fucking road rage, and then the next thing they're like, so fruit salad or whatever. And it's like, I've always, thought, like, I wish I could just be that, I guess, non-linear or whatever, that where you could just, but for me, it's always, I felt like it has to feel conversational. It has to feel like this isn't just, I'm not using you guys as a fucking prop or basically just, for my own purposes. Like, it's like, okay, we're talking about something, and there's a give and take of energy there. But I guess it's probably getting too fucking hippie-ish about comedy or whatever. I there's a word in there that I'm trying to think of, but it
being too much of like a stickler for this is how comedy should be kind of thing.
Yeah, I guess. I mean,
But on the flip side, like that's. I mean, for me, I've brought notes on stage here before to look at them. Sometimes I'll have my phone open and glance at it, to see what, like, oh yeah, that's right, this is where the next joke is going if I'm working on something. But for me, the culmination is when I'm taking it, to the main stage and doing that stuff where it's like, I don't need the notes anymore. I got it. I worked it out and all that stuff. But
right. So even when I'm working stuff, I don't think I know I've never taken anything of it. Even when I remember there was a time I remember, like, because when I was doing, I guess, when I was still doing Caplets in L.A., when I still lived in L.A., I remember at one point, because, I'd come up with my set sort of in the car with Jamie, and, I'd get down there, I'd do my set sometimes, and, because I would record it on Saturday nights in Hermosa Beach or whatever, and I there'd be times I'd get off stage, and I'd be like, fuck, I forgot to do that bit, that's what I wanted to do, and, like, because I get up there, and there would be times I would just, crowds in front of me, they're waiting for a laugh. I'm fucking, and I'm trying to, it's basically
really
you can hear that old fucking DSL thing or whatever. You'll dial up the sound like, and it's like, and I mean, my shit just got bogged down where I'm like, okay, and then I would just go to like some like old bit or something like that just to
fill the space.
I remember if there was a time that I was like, trying to figure out a way, like, to write like topic headings on my shoelaces, or I didn't want to ruin my shoes though. So it was like, all right, can I get on my shoelaces? Can I write it on my shoelaces so I can look down? I've had people for years think that because I look down a lot on stage, they think I actually am looking at, like, I have notes or something written down there. It's like, no,
that's just force of habit. That's just you just look down to gather your thoughts.
It's shame. That's what it is. It's like, I don't want to make direct fucking eye contact. Then then I'm gonna as soon as I see somebody else's eyes, I'm gonna realize what a fucking fraud I am. And it's awkward, because you don't know these people, and you are trying to, like, I mean, it's a weird thing to make direct eye contact with one person, especially if that one person's gonna get loud or something too. So there's a lot of reasons, but it's never bad. I've never had fucking notes up there.
And see, it's, for me, I almost feel like it's a point of like pride and professionalism. It's like, oh, you're going up there because you're prepared.
Right.
Right. So that's why I do so much, and that's why I'll rehearse it 5-6 times in the car to make sure it's ready. But man, I wish I could do, and I'm getting better at writing on stage and doing that kind of stuff. But man, I have literally watched you go up there and, like, I don't know what the fuck I'm gonna do, and watch you manufacture a set. And I can see the gears turning as you go, where it's like all of a sudden you'll be like, what do I want to talk about this time? And then you get the topic, and all of a sudden you are just off. And
that's what makes, honestly, that's that's what makes it fun a lot of times. That's why, like, I it's so weird because you'll have some people ask you, like, did you do that on purpose or do you, and it's like, no, because, there are parts of it where it's just really fun to go, okay, I really had no idea what I was going to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I really felt like, because I've always been one, I've always had that recurring nightmare about I'm still in college and it's finals week or something and I'd fucking not gone to class all semester. Yep. And I'm like, oh, fuck. And it's all about just this whole, being unprepared thing and not, and that's what I feel like. I mean, I'm driving down here tonight. I'm like, well, I want to do a Caparulo Set. I don't know what the fuck I want to do and talk about it's new or anything like that, but I just knew, okay, like tonight I did the thing talking about aliens because that's like the hot topic in the news. Yep. And so I decided to do a bit about really not too many. I had no concrete ideas where that was going to go. But when you do go into that situation where it is pretty scary, and then it's almost like, you remind yourself like, oh man, you know what? I'm pretty good at this. I guess I can do this, and that's what makes it so much more gratifying. When you go up there and it's like, yeah, I pulled it out of my ass again. All right, good for me. And that's it. It is fun, and that's it. But there's also part of me that I wish I could be more diligent and prepared about going, okay, let me take what I did in that set and then go home and actually work on it. But when I go home, I'm missing the adrenaline, and it's not the same. So
yeah,
it's.
But I mean, I told somebody the other day that you've forgotten more jokes than I have. Like literally, like it's just
probably
because even
I
like
don't know how many jokes you have,
but even there's somewhere it's like oh, but he missed that tag, and then like 4 joke times I see you do it later, there's that tag again.
Yeah, and
it's like man, it's like I thought he lost that one forever, but there it is back, and
I mean, because we were talking to a guy last night after the show. He was he was mentioning some bit that I did on one of my earlier specials, and I mean, I really do like sometimes when people will remind me of those bits, it'll be like, oh yeah, that was pretty good because once I put it on a special, it like I try to basically, I try to eventually work it out of my act because it's already
you lay it to rest.
Yeah, it's been put where it's got to go, and then it's like, all right, I need to move on from that one. So it's like, and when I stop doing them, I forget them because it's like, I've had people say, I mean, we've talked about it before, I think, where I used to close my set for how many years with that skydiving bit. I couldn't do that if you asked me now. And it was it was a real story that I spiced up a bit, but it was still based on a lot of reality. And I did that one so many times it made me fucking sick. And if you asked me to do that today,
got nothing.
Yeah.
And I mean, even that, because that was that lady last night. She's like, oh, I remember this bit. So every summer, I remember this bit that you said.
Popsicles bit,
and you were like, yeah, I remember that bit. Like it was still like I was like, oh my
man.
But like this lady, that hits her every single summer since she saw that joke. She was like, oh, that's John Caparulo. I always remember that he says every time I see the popsicles and blah blah. And I'm just like, that's incredible. That you could affect that person's life like that.
It is. I mean, you do really.
You don't fucking remember that bit at all.
I remember.
But you still get. But you still get what I'm saying.
But I don't remember exactly how to do, all the beats of it to go because I mean, it was one that I used to do at the same time as I did the Coke and Pepsi thing or whatever. I think I know it fit with that, and that's why I was where I put it. But I mean, yeah, it's sometimes we forget as comics that the overall effect of what we do and the material that we come up and it's the same thing as the way a lot of people look at the Bible. I look at The Simpsons, or I look at a lot of those basically cartoons, South Park, fucking American Dad, Family Guy. But when people talk to me about oh man, your comedy got me through this when so and so somebody in their life died or was sick, or maybe they were trying to recover from some sort of injury, or there was one guy who came up to me. I still remember this. I still have the thing. He wrote his doctorate thesis on. He said he was asleep on the couch one night, woke up, and my special was on Comedy Central, and it inspired him, I guess, to that's what he was going to focus his doctorate thesis on, was basically comedians and their effect on on people and psychology. I'm butchering it, so I don't want to. But I do have the thesis that he sent me at home, and and it's crazy to think about, because it's just when you're a comedian, you just live with your material day after day, and you just think it's just bullshit to you, because after a while you're just like, man, this is just something I live with to go on stage with and build on just my whole thing. It's you just think it's only your thing and nobody else really cares. But then you remember when people remind you like that, it's like, wow, it actually means something to the people who are actually, who are supporting your comedy, and who actually use your comedy like I used the comedy of The Simpsons or whatever to get, to make sense of life and to get through. And it's always really cool to get reminded of that, man. It's awesome.
Well, because so much of the time we get, oh, you were so funny, which we all go in our heads as a comic. It doesn't matter if you killed that night. You're like, no. Anytime they say it, you're like, yeah. It's always like, it's like the verbal tip, like, great service.
Right,
it's like that's it. So it's like,
oh, you were so funny. Yeah, thanks for not laughing.
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
Thanks for having your arms crossed in the front row the whole time.
Right.
I'm glad you enjoyed the show. But then when they come up to you like that, we're like, man, like, like my sister died or something, and your comedy and that shit got me through. It's like,
it does, yeah.
Like, oh, okay, so maybe there is some impact on these fucking stuff out there.
It's beyond me and my career or whatever.
Yeah.
Like the things that, because I've had people. It's always amazing to me that guys will come back from from war. Like in the Middle East, it's only been in the Middle East since I've been a comic, so nobody was listening to me in Vietnam.
In Nam, are you sure? Not Korea? not the Korean War?
But when they say that, me and the guys and my, my platoon or whatever, like they would say that, we would watch your disc or whatever, like every night when we were there, and I'm like, you could actually laugh at fucking the stuff that I say when you're in that situation, when you're worried about whether you're gonna live.
Yeah.
That's I'm still amazed by that. I still disagree with it, because I'm like, I can't believe you actually could get something out of what I do in that situation. But man, every time somebody tells me something like that, I appreciate the hell out of it. I don't know how to process it a lot of times when they tell me, because it's like there's nothing I can say back that's really gonna,
because I got nothing. Yes, I have nothing other than thank you.
But it really is, man. It's just I want those people to know that it really is. It's beyond words how awesome it is when somebody tells me that. It really does. It's great.
Well, it's good because especially for us as comics, like we put this out in the ether. I mean, even when you record a Netflix special or whatever, it's like you still are just putting it up on the platform and.
Right, you just
see
hope
what happens.
It all goes together, goes well enough
Hoping
to go.
People like it.
I hope it, I hope,
and
is anybody even watching this?
Yeah.
That sort of thing. Yeah.
That's what we said. It's the same when we put out these podcasts. We're just throwing them over the world. Like, is anybody interested in this? Have you guys seen this? Have you heard about this?
I think we know the answer to that.
We're building.
Yeah, man.
That's all that matters. But still,
that's what we're always doing.
But that's how comics is. It's just we get so in our head about our sets and our stuff, and we're so focused on our craft that we kind of sometimes forget the other end. That
it's too close to you to really think of it anything more than that.
Yeah, because we just see, all right, the people, they laughed, whatever. It's like we don't see what they took home with them, or if they're like, remember he said that last night, or they say it like, remember last month, or like whatever, or it's like, oh, let's go follow him online and see more. So
or it's also we're going way down this rabbit hole, but I mean, it's also cool. I've had forget which comic was it we had on here. He saw me way back in the day, like at the Comedy Store.
Oh, Chris Storin?
Yeah.
Yes. When he came out drunkenly to ask you how to do comedy and then started the next week.
And it was it was nothing to me to be like, I mean, if somebody, because I remember I think he had asked me about, because he thought about it, he wanted to get into comedy or whatever, or maybe he was just starting, and and I talked to him about it and gave him some words to maybe just to
You literally gave him information.
And that affects people.
This is the thing. This is how you get on. This is how you get your number. Like, you basically laid it out for him.
Yeah. And like, and for a lot of times I feel like I oversimplify to people, like, just be funny.
Because you at the door, as the door guy, you answered that question 10 million times.
Yeah.
Every comic that came up. So it was like, so you were just kind of doing the same thing you'd kind of done.
And the thing is, I have also had those moments, for me, like, I'm sure Chris Rock doesn't remember the time, I randomly ran into him when we were at the same comedy festival in Vegas in 2007, and, he told me how funny he thought I was, and I didn't even know he knew who I was. Same thing with Eddie Griffin when he put me on his show back in 2003. Like, these guys, I saw Eddie Griffin. I was getting on a plane because we end up like on a lot of the same flights coming back from road stuff, and like, man, Eddie doesn't know who I am, and I'm just like, I don't bother him. There's been a few times like I've seen him. We get off the plane at the same time, and I'm like, Eddie, I don't want to fucking make him feel awkward and go, hey, remember me, Cap, from the Comedy Store? I'm fatter now. Really? And it's like, but there was a time recently we were on the same flight. I was getting on right after, because how'd you get fucking concierge key? God damn it. Because I was just happy I got my upgrade. And but I was getting on a plane and just, I was like, hey, Eddie, it's me, Caparulo from, and he was cool as fuck as usual. But I mean, like, I don't think he knows, like, what a big help he was to me at that stage in my career, because, I could have been waiting around for another few years to like, because I remember that him put me on that show at the store with him, got me really helped me get my first TV spot, which led to my Montreal invitation. It's a chain reaction, and if Eddie didn't do that, I would. Who knows when it would have actually happened for him? Who knows how much more fucking grass I would have had to mow. So so I always try to keep that in mind. When if a comic comes up to me, or somebody who's aspiring, whatever. And plus, just as a person, I've seen people who are just dicks to people, and it's like, I can't imagine being that way.
The old "don't meet your heroes," man, because they're just fucking dicks.
So I mean, but it is amazing though when somebody will tell you, like, that you really had an effect on their life or their path, and because I've had the same thing happen to me with other guys, like I said, with Eddie, Chris, Arsenio, fucking stopping traffic on Moore Park. I mean, those are big moments for me, and I don't think they even. It's just another thing for them, but yeah, it has an effect, man. The comedy's really, there's a lot, it digs a lot deeper than we really think sometimes.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Fuck yeah! Hi, how are you? Good to see you, fuckers too. I used to shoplift too. I mean, that was actually my first time on television. I was on the fucking 11 o'clock news. They were there like shooting some shit for Christmas shopping season, and I just walked past the camera because I just stole a bottle of fucking Giorgio cologne. And I just walked by the camera like fucking Bigfoot, like. I showed my mom, and I was like 15. I'm like, look, I'm on the news, and she's like, oh, that's so cool. What were you doing? I'm like, so, yeah, that was my thing. I used to fucking shoplift cologne because I got addicted to it in high school, because it was like I would steal cologne and then I'd take it in my pocket with me to school the next day, and girls would be like, who smells good? And I'd be like, like, why do you have a whole bottle of eternity in your pocket? I'm like, well, let me tell you a little story about me being an outlaw, baby. And then it went downhill from there. So I'm getting old too. I'm fucking 47. Thanks. Yeah, all grown up, and this is still how I dress for fucking work. So I mean, there's other things, like when you get into your 40s, like, I mean, I probably should have done it in my 30s too, but I feel like I have times where I'm like, I should at least start eating healthier, and like my wife actually finally wore me down. I buy most of my groceries at Trader Joe's, But that took a while, because that place pissed me off for a long time. I'd walk in there, like, I'd just be milling around for like an hour. Finally, somebody working there would be like, can I help you find something? I'm like, yeah, something I fucking recognize would be fantastic. Yeah, I mean, do you have an Oreos aisle? Because this place fucking sucks, dude. But I buy a lot of shit from there. Like, it's amazing, like, when you look online, like, I didn't realize, like, how many recalls there are from Trader Joe's. Like, they like, recall a lot of food. Like, the most recent one was, I guess, like, chocolate chip cookies. They said there was gravel in them. Wow. And they're like, yeah, you can just come in and exchange them for new ones. I'm like... But why were you baking on gravel? You know, like, why did that even get in the fucking mix, man? I mean, you know, like, food recalls, that gets scary, man. Like, that fucked with me all of 2022. I don't know if anybody else got affected by this, but there was a recall on Jif peanut butter. I guess the rest of you are adults. But yeah, I still eat a lot of fucking peanut butter. And there was a Jif recall because I guess there was like a salmonella outbreak at the Jif house. And like you couldn't get Jif for a long time. Like until last year, I had no idea that the Jif jar was clear. You know, like I always thought it was brown. I never had to chisel peanut butter off the sides. I'm like, fuck, that's the whole jar, isn't it? Shit. But it took a while. Like, yeah, I just kept going back to the store. Like every fucking peanut butter aisle would be none there. My wife would always. I hate when my wife would try to minimize my problems too. She's like, why don't you just get another brand? I'm like, why don't you just fuck off, lady? All right, I mean, how about that? And then I took a beating. So yeah, it's but I mean, she's like, she tried it, like, she kept, like, bringing different, she's like, why don't you try Trader Joe's Old Fashioned? I'm like, because I know what Old Fashioned is code for, all right? It's code for fucking gross. That's what it is. I mean, have you ever opened that shit? Like, I'm going to forget about the fact that there's a puddle of fucking oil on top of my peanut butter? Oh, yeah, I'll just stir that in and never think about it again. No, I'm going to think about it. It was there. I saw it. That's fucking gross. Like, I hate when people minimize my problems, man. I remember it was like, that recall went for like 2 or 3 months. And I remember I went to there was a Bonds by my house. I stopped there one night on my way home, and they had one jar of Jif. And they weren't fucking around either. It was like a Donkey Kong barrel of fucking Jif. Like, I grabbed it off the shelf, I took it up to the register. I was like antsy, like I was fucking stealing it, you know, like oh, I'm gonna take it in my pocket to school. And but the lady rang it up, she's like, boop, she's like, oh, sorry, this has been recalled, I can't sell it to you. I'm like, oh, fuck, well, then can I just have it? Because, come on, you're killing me here. I mean, like, it made me realize at that point, I'm like, I would rather risk salmonella poisoning than eat fucking Skippy. You know, I mean, that's how bad Skippy is. Yeah, let's just fucking roll the dice, worms. All right, that's, But I hate when people try to minimize my problems. Like, I hate when people try to minimize other people's problems, period. Like, I was at, if you ever fly out of Vegas, like, you see, like, if you go to the restroom, they even have it on the doors of the restroom. They say, you know, like, if you're a victim of human trafficking, call this number or something. And I saw, like, somebody wrote on the sign, like, on the door, like, somebody just wrote under the number. They went, or just run, stupid. Like they were just, like somebody was gonna read that and go, oh yeah, hey, you know what? I should run. I didn't even think of that shit, right? Or, you know what? What a fucking novel idea that I should maybe try to move faster than my captors. Thank you, dickhead. Like, who fucking does that? Like, like, whoever is, like, doing, like, can you imagine what a fucking asshole you gotta be to do that? Like, really? Like, I mean, when you literally have a closet full of people, and you look at your friend like, we're not bad guys, are we? You know, like, yes, you really are. It's, you know, like, I mean, that shit fucking scares us. That's the most awful thing I can think of, fucking, you know, somebody doing that shit, because like, anytime I even watch, if you watch any movies like that have anything to do with like slavery or anything like that, like Roots or 12 Years a Slave or something like that, every time I watch movies like that, I always think, like, I couldn't even do the movie. Like, how desperate are the white actors for work? I'd be be a mess on the set. be like, action, bail that cotton, boy. Cut. I am so fucking sorry. I did not write this shit. I don't want to die. I just need a job. Here, you can whip me. I'll buy you lunch. Come on, come back. Like, I can't imagine, but you know, I heard about, like, my aunt actually told me, because my aunt was doing, like, Ancestry.com, and if you ever, like, got on there, like, you have to, like, do some digging after, like, a couple generations, and she was doing the digging. She came to lunch one day, and she's like, guess what? I found out our great-great-great-great-grandfather on your grandmother's side, he worked on slave ships. I'm like, oh. Why are you excited to tell me that? That's fucking terrible. And she's like, no, and his name was, I'm like, I don't want to fucking know. Like, I just discontinue the conversation. Like, I don't want to hear that shit. Like, I just want to, yeah, I fool myself in thinking, like, maybe he was the entertainment on the ship. You know, like, hey, where are you from? Oh, Africa too. Shit, I couldn't imagine, but I mean, somebody like that's in my fucking family somewhere could have done that. Like, I couldn't fucking do that, you know. Like I've heard people say, like, oh, well, they didn't think of it that. They were a lot, you know, more cold-blooded then. They didn't think of people as people. They just thought of them as fucking product. Like, oh, that makes it okay. All right, yeah. Like, you know, like, I couldn't even do it then. Like, I mean, like, if you think of something as a product, like, if I'm in a grocery store and I see, like, a roll of paper towels and I pull it off the shelf, put it in my basket, it's a product. Fine, I'll buy it. But if I pull a roll of paper towels off the shelf, and as I'm putting it in the basket, it goes, no, please, sir, I have a family. I'd be like, oh, shit, I put it back. I can fucking... unless it was a jar of Jif. It's like, you're coming with me, bitch. Thank you, guys. Enjoy the rest of the show.
You motherfucker! Because I was genuinely like, what happened?
We're just having fun here on the Killing Cricket Set. All right, so we're back, and sorry, everyone, I bombed again.
Dude, that was
it was a good crowd. Number one, I mean, so that makes a difference. But yeah, I was glad I got to run that set because I've been. Doing some. I was getting to do that bit again because we were talking about before. Like I headlined in Arlington, Virginia, and the comic who was opening that weekend was doing a bit about a food recall. So I was able to sort of reference his recall and then do my bit about Jif recall at the beginning of my sets because it was kind of hard to do that bit because it's hard to there's no way to really bring that up like conversationally or naturally to go, hey, so guys, remember last year how Jif was recalled? That still bothers me. Like it doesn't feel organic. So when he did the food recall thing and I was like, oh, I just referenced his food recall. So then I was like, okay, I think we were at Kimmel's one night when I came back and I'm like, all right, like I need to find another food recall that's current to sort of reference and talk about, which I just realized now I did flub that one at the beginning though because like it's supposed to be they found rocks, which they did. They found rocks in the cookies, and then that makes gravel hit harder. Fortunately, this crowd wasn't all that. They didn't care, so it's still saying gravel twice didn't hurt, but it will bother me forever. So,
yes. But when you first did that last week, like we literally. Like, I opened, then the feature went, and we were talking about it while the feature was on. And then you fucking took that on stage, like... Yeah. And it was, like, perfect. It was a nice, solid chunk with the Trader Joe's thing and everything. And even today, double gravel aside, it's a very good bit now.
Yeah, I mean,
really good.
I love, I love being able to take something that's like that's real, obviously. I mean, because my aunt did find that. It was several years ago because my aunt has since passed on. But, I mean, when she found that, I remember her telling me, like, she was like, so, I found out. And I'm like, why are you excited to tell me that? Because she's just excited that she found facts. Doesn't matter how horrible the facts are. Yes. Like, what the fuck? And so, it was,
Dude, I mean, there was a part in the middle where you were trying to go to the next part, and they were so loud laughing that like you had to like slow down because just so they could hear. I was like, oh,
those man, those are always the ones that are fun.
You built in the beginning with the perfume thing, which was something we talked about on the podcast.
Which was great. Okay, we did.
Yeah, which was great.
I thought we had talked about that before.
It was like oh, to hear that, but then to hear it like on stage, and then like you transitioned to it, and then you called it back in the middle.
Oh yeah, with the
and then it was
put it in my pocket. Yeah,
and I was like, oh, well, there's his callback for this, but then you went like into all the other stuff and still had the good GIF callback at the end.
Yeah, that was because the thing about shoplifting cologne was, I mean, because I was, the TC was on before me. He was talking about shoplifting something, and so I, it was one of those because I think he got surprised that he was on because I think he was working in the back, and then he's like, oh shit, I got to go on. So it was like he kind of was on and off quicker than I expected. So I was almost like, fuck, I'm on already. Yeah, shit, and whatever. So I just, that's one of those times where I was like, all right, what was he talking about? And then it was like, oh yeah, he's shoplifting. I did that, and then
it just flowed so good. Like
it was
from end to end. Gravel aside, that was a pretty goddamn good
gravel. The double gravel's gonna bother me,
but it was that was so perfect. Just
it was
the callback in the middle, the callback at the end.
Yeah,
they were on board for everything. I'm gonna have to edit down some of the laughter because it was so good.
Don't do that. I don't think you should do that.
I'm just gonna leave you quiet.
Yeah, man, no, keep that shit there. That's good. Yeah, no, it's one of those sets though that like it's just fun, man. It's always fun when you just you can. It's that energy, and when you're doing stuff that I don't. It's at best it's a newer bit. If it really it's something I don't do much anyway, and it's like when you're just able to take stuff that it's really not. Well, I mean, all the stuff about shoplifting, that's really nothing I've ever talked about on stage before, and it's just. It's like those are the moments that are really fun that you always need, no matter how long you've been in comedy, because you need to be able to remind yourself that you can still come up with something. Because I don't know if you ever. I'm sure you saw the Jerry Seinfeld documentary did what's been 23 years ago now because it was 2000. The comedian one where he was like, I'm throwing out all my old stuff and I want to just go back, and I mean that's just so important as a comedian because it's who you are, and you feel there's always times that you'll feel I felt like it before I was a comic where I'd just be like, man, maybe I'm not funny anymore, maybe I can't, so it's always great to just be able to just remind yourself that you can still you're still capable and you're still can come up with some good shit. Yeah, man, and it's just fun, man, when the crowd just gives you that.
And I love that GIF bit.
Sweet,
I loved it before, but it's like you said, it was like you had nowhere to put it in your set without being like, have you seen this? Have you heard about this?
Right, right.
And it's like, and now that you and that's like, you didn't have, it was going to be left on the cutting room floor. You know what I'm saying? You didn't know where to put it.
Yeah,
and
it was definitely going to be a...
It's resurrected, and it has a whole new life with that whole Trader Joe's front and back. It's like, I'm like, that's a complete bit now.
It's I mean, it's one that, I'm still, that's one that still, with, when I do a headlining set, it's still one of those ones that the topic is still where you're like, do I do this or do I not do this? Do I want to get into this?
Well, because it's still
one of those things.
If you go in the whole 45 that you do, where does it fit in with all the family stuff, the other stuff?
Right. You don't want to just bringing it out of nowhere, right? And so it's one of those things that it has to weave its way in there naturally. But it's like I said, in this format, which is still my favorite format, which is just, hey, I'm coming in for 7 to 10 or whatever, and just boom, and you get to those quick tie-ins and stuff like that, button it up and you're done. And so it's still one though that you're right, where it gives me a lot more confidence to still to build on that and keep that as a bit that I regularly go back to and maybe find a place for it in my longer set. Yeah, man.
Because like I said, I thought it was so funny to be, to just not to die kind of thing. But we all have those bits where it's just you just can't fit it in.
Yeah,
it's funny in this 1 minute, 2 minute, but when I'm doing a longer set, You can't find a space for it.
Weird how that'll have, like, I mean, when you find yourself, like, through, all the year, like, I remember when I did my first, when I did the first 45 caplets and we shot those in LA before we moved to Vegas. And, there were times, like, where I remember, like, I was trying to find a bit that was a bit that I thought I'd done for off and on for years. A couple bits, actually. I remember specifically it was my bit about open water and my bit about deer hunting. Mm-hmm. And those were ones that was like, I just assumed they were in caplets somewhere because they weren't in either one of my hour specials.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, they have to be in caplets because there were so many times when I was, heading to the show to shoot caplets, and I'm like, I got fucking nothing, and I'm like, I've used up all my old stuff or whatever, and it's like, but I went back through those at different times trying to find those bits for this reason or that reason. I think Jamie wanted to post them for whatever reason, and I'm like, they're not there. I'm like, I don't know. I guess they never did them. I'm like, what the fuck? There were so many nights where I needed something, and I could have used it. But what I'm saying is, like, after so many years, there are so many things that you do that do get sort of lost. And I mean, even stuff I put on specials, because it's like, I don't watch my specials, and I have so many people come up to me after shows, oh, I love this bit or that. Mm-hmm. I'm like, oh yeah, that was pretty good. And it's like, you almost feel like another guy wrote them. It's like, I did them, but it's like, I forgot about it because
it's so many bits ago.
Gets out of my rotation, and like I don't. Yeah, you just forget about them, and it does. It's fun to look back and go, wow, it's a fucking ton of crap. It's a lot of shit talking on stage, and it really is. It's great to look back and see, wow, I've really come up with a lot of funny stuff, a lot of shit that wasn't too, but it was still. Yeah, man, but tonight was a pretty good set.
And like the last 2 or 3 we've been doing, we've had really good audiences. Mm-hmm. Like, it's been really good.
That fucking helps.
It really helps.
It really does.
Because some of our early ones we did, it's like, oh yeah, you could tell those rooms were a little empty. The crowd was enthusiastic, but you could tell those rooms were a little empty. And so
I mean, it does make such a big difference because it's like no matter how good you are or experienced you are or whatever at comedy, it's like if the crowd's just. If they're not willing to go with you, then, I mean, and it sucks for them too, because they don't realize how much it'll make a better show for them if they just encourage us more, because it really does. It's adding gas to fire. It really does, because it gives you that time to really, stay with what you're doing instead of having that panic alarm going off in the back of your mind where you're like, oh fuck, this is going to shit. I better, all right, I'll dig out something old here. Mm-hmm. And then you dig out something old. It's like, oh fuck, that didn't work either. Yep. It's like they just hate me, and it's a really dismal affair when it's like that. But when you have a crowd that's just, yeah, man, we're here to watch some comedy, and we're with you, man. It just makes such a big difference, because it really does. It brings out the best in us, man. It really does.
And you were having so much fun on stage. Like I said, I've watched you on stage for 6 months straight, opening all this stuff for you, man, and I can tell when you're just like, let's get this over with. You know what I'm saying? Like,
there are definitely those times.
Sometimes it's work. But like, man, just tonight you were in a good mood, and everything was just better, and
absolutely,
everything fucking worked. And it was like, and even then I was like, all right, well, where's he gonna go from here? And then he went to the human trafficking, and I'm like, and then you fucking just weaved all the way to the end, and I'm like, this is perfect.
Yeah.
And then I was like, what's the callback? And it was the GIF, and I was like coast to coast, like perfect.
You didn't know the GIF was the callback?
No.
Really? Oh, no. I figured you knew that.
No, I didn't. I didn't know.
You have a.
Because I've seen that bit, but I don't. I remember the paper towels part, but I don't remember the GIF part being.
Oh, okay, yeah.
No,
it's
no, that was, but now. It was more complete from end to end.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was just the Trader Joe's thing worked so good because that also ties into the Trader Joe's peanut butter part that you were doing with the old fashioned with the mix. So it was it's just bam, 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 bam. No, it's a complete bit.
I was pretty fucking great.
Yeah.
I could, trust me. I'll suck tomorrow. But I thank you, and it was yeah, it was.
No, it's good night, and that's why we're here.
Yeah,
doing this.
I'm glad I made the drive, man. Glad I made the drive. I left gymnastics class, not mine, but and came straight here, and yeah, it was well worth the trip. So yeah, man.
Well, guys, like I said, that's real comedy. We're out here doing it every week. So
Yeah,
stay tuned. We'll be right back with more Killing Crickets.
Yeah. Oh, that was fucking terrible. No, I've been. You knew I was going to do that. I mean, it was.
It was that or Wolfman Jack. I was honestly, I'm waiting for.
Hey, baby!
Come on, baby!
Thanks for joining us. Yeah,
Wolfman Jack. Yeah.
We've had a good time as usual. So thank you for joining us on Killing Crickets. We'll catch you next time. We'll do some comedy and we'll waste more time talking shit. But yeah.
So subscribe.
Michael Jordan's the best basketball player ever.
Michael Jordan's the best. Tom Brady's the best. Come at us.
Yes.
Come at us.
Brady's the goat.
Right?
Jordan's a goat. Don't fuck with me.
Yeah.
All right,
So we'll
guys.
be back next week with more Killing Crickets.
Peace.